All right, everybody, we are live. You are watching Wendy Makes Art, and it is Art Tip Tuesday. I have been out traveling, so I wasn't on last Tuesday and last Friday. And tonight's going to be a little different. We're going to go over all of the paintings that I did while I was traveling and take a look at them. I have brought Post-it notes. We're going to make some notes. I've been pulling up reference images, so my computer's really slow. It's kind of chomping through them. Hopefully I can pull some things up on screen so you can look at them. If not, I do have my phone right here, so we'll just look at stuff on screen on phone and kind of do our best to work with these. So with all of that, we're going to give everybody a couple minutes to jump on. I think they all just got the notice, and probably everybody thinks that I'm MIA because I was out for so long. A little bit about my trip to Niagara Falls. I'll just give you a little lowdown on what I was doing while we're waiting for people to show up. My day job, there was a national conference with my day job, and I was up for a big award. Actually, the whole organization was up for a big award. I had kind of had the role of putting it together with a case study and submitting it for this award, and we won. So it was pretty exciting. That was the highlight of the trip. But it took place in Canada, and I have not been to Canada since I was probably a teenager. So I didn't remember much about it, and some of it I think is all new. Not have been, it wasn't there when I was there the last time. I remember standing at the edge of the falls and getting really wet, and there were wooden railings, and I remember going to the spaghetti factory for a meal, and we sat in one of those tables that are set up like a bed, which is super fun. But other than that, I didn't have a lot of memories of Niagara Falls. So I flew into Buffalo, New York. It is a lot cheaper to fly from where I am in New Mexico to Buffalo, New York, and then took what they call an airport taxi, which takes you from the airport, and I want to say it's about 45 minutes to get there because you have to get through Border Patrol and stop at customs. So you cross the Rainbow Bridge from the United States and go to Canada. And they take you to your hotel, and then you schedule and have them pick you up and take you back across the border going back. So it was not nearly as complicated as I thought it would be. They ask you questions at the border, and I was not there to flee or get another job. I was just there for my conference for work, so it was fairly easy. Aside from that, I painted every minute I could, so I ended up doing 9 paintings. I could have done more, but there was a lot of sightseeing and things to do, and of course I was there for work, so I had to attend a conference and work, which was quite the experience. We got to do a lot and see a lot, and hear some great keynote speakers. We had an event at the power station, which was completed, I think, in 2021, they said. And oh my goodness, you should see the giant spider that is hanging out my sliding glass doors. That is a massive spider. I don't know if it's alive or dead, but it's really creepy. Anyway, not that you care about that. Whoever just heard me go on about this giant spider that I'm going to be freaked out about for the next hour. Hopefully, I can't tell. He's kind of just hanging there. I bet he's just waiting for something to land in his web. Probably has a web up in the corner. Okay, let's see. Microphone's good. Sound is good. Let's show some art. So the first thing I did when I got there, it was late afternoon, and I thought, I'm going to go paint the falls. So I grab my stuff, I get all my stuff out, and I head down to the falls. And I painted until I couldn't see enough to paint. I forgot all of my lights, my travel lights for night painting. So I ended up 2 days later taking that painting back down. And what was interesting about this painting was, despite the fact that it was an evening painting when I started, I knew that I could get away with making it a morning painting. So 2 days later, I went down early in the morning and painted it. But I did not anticipate the mist. And depending on the way the wind blows in Niagara Falls, Canada, it feels like it's raining. So it's like a light sprinkling rain, but it's mist from the falls being blown over you. So everything's wet. So I built like a little cover over my easel, and I fought the gouache. I had this palette, and I had my 2 Art Toolkit palettes. I had this in watercolors. But I had this one open, and there was so much water, it was just like completely soaked. So I felt like I was battling the water. But let me show you how the painting turned out. Again, this one was over 2 sessions. So started it as an evening painting, and then it ended up coming in and finishing it in the morning. And I kind of changed it a little bit. There were these morning clouds. I think I added a little more yellow in here because it's a lot more like a lemon yellow, peach, pink in the morning sometimes. And then the turquoise blue that falls in here. So if anything, I still think it needs a little more highlight in this mist and clouds. And one of the things that I'm gonna do is just make some notes on a sticky pad. They all need mounted. So what I did was I took watercolor blocks, and this is where everything is sealed on all sides with glue, and then you peel them off when you're done, and you have another sheet of paper, and it holds it pretty flat and keeps it from buckling while you're painting on it. So it's really nice. But what we're gonna do is just make a few little notes, and I like the look of this. I think it's fresh and clean. If anything, I will, I don't know. I really think I just need a few little white highlights and a few white highlights. And then we're gonna limit the time, because then I can keep it as a plein air, a true plein air painting. I usually don't like to touch them, and I could leave this just as is and submit it for an awards thing somewhere. Oh, and that was the other thing. I had so many offers to buy these off the easel, and I was too chicken. There's a lot of issues about people who are going across for working. I didn't have a work visa. I didn't have any permits. I didn't have a way to change currency. Like I could have gotten around some of that stuff, but it was a little bit of a conundrum. So I just told people no, I was painting for myself. I don't know what I'm going to do with these paintings, but I told everybody I was painting for myself. So I'm going to limit the time, and I probably worked about maybe 3 hours on this. So you usually want to keep a plein air painting that you're competing with to no more than 80%, or no less than 80% or more needs to be done completely in the field. Sometimes it has to be 100%, depending on what you're entering. So if I spent 180 minutes on this, then I could spend 36 minutes. And you can look at it a couple ways. There's no hard and fast way. I could say, okay, I don't want to really change more than 20% of the nature of this, but it's kind of hard to calculate. Or you can do a time. So it's really up to you on how you manage that time. It's all on an honor system, which is why I typically like to not touch them at all. But usually there's these last few little things that, let's just call them sprinkles. A few little sprinkles. This is not going to stick to this paper. which is a shame. I know what I can do. When all else fails, get the tape out. So get your art tape out and tape the sticky note to it so you don't lose it. So I'm just going to stick this on here and make a note. And then we're going to come back and work on these after we take a look at all of them. I just figured I'd show them all to you. You get a feel for where they are, and we'll talk about them and what was involved. So that was the first/4th one, or 3rd one I finished. Okay. So then, I'm going to sit this here so my cat doesn't jump on it. I switched, because I kept 3 of these so that I could work in different sizes. So I had my cold press block. I had a hot press block. Let me move this over here. A brand new hot press block. Ooh, you're getting a sneak peek. And this watercolor block from Jackson's, which is hot press. So I kind of was working through all of that. So the next one I did was, I think it was this one. No, it wasn't, but we'll show this. This is the U.S. Falls. So you have 2 falls. You have the United States Falls, which are straight across, and then you have the Canadian Falls. So I actually painted the Canadian Falls next, which is this one. And I think it's a lovely painting, but you can't really tell on camera. You can kind of see all the detail in there, but it's a little too gray. There's no real flecks of bright white. I have little hints of it in here, but it almost looks like a little tiny bit dirty when you're looking at it. So I may end up, and I've got some little teeny tiny itsy bits of hints of people in here. I think the only thing I really need to do is, I think this needs one more level of value right here. There was some mist, so I either need to clearly define mist coming over or bring this over here and let the mist just be in here. And then it needs some white highlights. So this one I know I did, it was exactly 2 hours and 10 minutes. Same with this one, with the US Falls, but this is the left side of the Canadian Falls. It goes like in a horseshoe. And I really liked just picking part of it and painting that corner of it. So it was 2 hours and 10 minutes, which means 120. So, maybe 20 minutes of edits, add white, value in trees. So, just a couple little notes. When I just glance at this and look at this and say, okay, what could I improve? What could I do better? I know those ones from when I was looking at it after I painted it right away. So those are top of mind. So I'm just going to do a little piece of tape, stick my sticky note on the back. I like this one a lot, so I will mount this one. So I'll mount this one. I think it's a pretty one of the falls. This one I'm definitely going to mount. So that means I'm going to put them on a panel so they're nice and flat. And I will end up, once they're finished, and I've determined that I'm not going to edit anymore, then I'll seal them. So I will spray varnish and then put an isolation coat and do a brushed varnish on top after. Same with this one. This one, I love this little building. There's this little thing in here. There's things you notice when you paint that you may not necessarily notice. A couple things. I thought it was really interesting. There was so much churn and mist at the bottom of the falls that it's an illusion. It looks like it's snow. It's not. It's all churn and mist, but it really looks like snow. The longer you stare at it, the more snow you see. This giant casino building on the US side had the most fabulous light show. It had these little strips that went across, and they changed all different colors in these rainbow lights. Let's see if I can get this close for you to see on this. So I think my clouds might need, I don't know. I could go back and forth on it. I like that you don't really notice them because it's about the falls. So you don't want too much competition for your star. And the camera's not picking it up really well. You can see them a little bit better at an angle right there. And that'll give you a little bit of an angle. But I definitely want to mount it. And I definitely want to limit whatever I do to it to 20 minutes. And I probably want a little more bright white. More bright white. And I want a little more shadow. Like, I really love this. You can kind of see it in here. I think it needs a little more shadow. Later I'll go, what was I writing? I can't even tell what I was writing on that comment. Okay. So that was my third one. So then I went down one evening. You guys are going to love this. So I go down to paint and I set up in front of the falls. And they had it solid green. The whole falls. They were solid green. And I thought, I can work with this. So I set my easel up, I sketch the whole thing out, I start to paint it, I fill them in with this green color, yellow green. And the next thing that happened is that they changed the colors. So they changed it to white. I'm like, okay, well that's weird. I thought maybe Tuesday's green night. We'll just go with that. So they change it to white, and then they start changing it to all different colors. So they would flash through red, white, and blue, and it would flash quickly. And then it would become a rainbow of colors. And then it would go red to orange. And like, it was constantly changing. So this is about, I set up late enough. I had gone out and bought a little plastic flashlight. So I have this taped to my setup to kind of see what I'm doing. It's one little plastic, can't even change the batteries, $5 flashlight that I got at a convenience store because I forgot my lights. So I said, okay, I'm just going to go with this. I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to go with this. Well, I kind of noticed that there's a ruckus going on. And I'm wondering what is going on. And I turn around and I see police line, do not cross, behind me and going all the way down the street. And then the police are escorting people and herding them towards me. And I'm thinking, you have got to be kidding. So I went over and I said, what's going on here? And they said, well, fireworks start at 10 every night, by the way. Every night in Niagara Falls at 10 p.m., they do 5 minutes of fireworks. So at 9 p.m., they shut down an entire area in front of the falls for safety and kick everybody out. Had I been 20 feet to the right, I would have been outside the line, but I wasn't. They were very nice, and they're like, you have a lot of stuff. It's okay. You have plenty of time. Take your time. So I packed it all up, and I thought, I'll come back tomorrow, and I'm going to paint close to where that was. So I probably only painted maybe 30 minutes by the time I was set up and got kicked out that night. So I went back I think it was the next night or 2 nights later and worked on it. And this one is not, I still feel like it's not quite there and it needs a lot of work. So I'm going to work on this one. We'll probably work on this one tonight, but we're not going to, it's not going to be a quote plein air painting. It's just going to be, let's see what we can do with it. So a couple of things. With my little flashlight, I wasn't able to really catch what my values were in the dark. So my sky needs to still differentiate from the landmass, but it needs to be darker and more solid-ish. The falls are a hot mess. The whole thing, it's just a hot mess. The whole piece is a hot mess. But it's at least, it was a start. And it was quite the experience knowing that I got kicked out by the police because of fireworks. So just managing, you think about epic fails and Go West. I see you're on here, so thanks for joining. definitely there were lots of epic fails in this trip. So I did this one. Okay, so that was 4, right? And then I had to be a good employee and go to the conference. So I was a good employee and I went to the conference and I said, I got to switch my brain, and not paid for a while. So I went exploring. Once the conference was over, I went exploring, and this is probably the funniest thing. I heard there was a Midway, and I knew the Ferris wheel was over there. So I said, I have got to go over there to paint this stuff. I've always wanted to paint a carnival, and it was the closest I could get. So I go traipsing over to the Midway, which is a mile one way, just to the edge of it. And I'm not exactly the most in shape little person here, but I've been working on it and walking, so I was able to do it. And they had, I'm not kidding, like Frankenstein's castle, and then Dracula's castle was down here. But they had all these fast food joints, including Wendy's, Burger King, like things that you hear about, only they kind of merged it in with the Midway. So they actually had Frankenstein eating a burger over Burger King with his castle and a roller coaster running across it. Like, there's so much going on here. I had to capture it. I thought it was the funnest thing. My Frankenstein doesn't quite look like Frankenstein. He's a little off. So I'm really going to have to look and figure that out. And I also don't think this is something for me. Like, this painting is in Wendy's Weird Paintings, and I don't think it's like a sellable painting. I think it's something that, unless you really like the quirky, this you wouldn't go for this. But there are so many things I love about it. I love my marks in this painting. Like, they were furious and loose, and there was so much going on, and the marks really kind of brought that in where these dabs of color were. So I was really working on shapes. And yes, Go West, you're right. People who love Frankenstein will love this. So, like, and if you love Burger King, you will love this. Burger King might love this. I don't know. It's so super fun. So I don't know if I'm going to do any more to it or if I'm going to leave it. I might work his face just a hair, just to bring a little more, I think this light is probably the problem. Like, I have too much cast shadow at the top of his head, and he might need a few more little wrinkly and things with his eyebrows. So it's almost there. It's just a hair off enough that I think it looks too man-like and not Frankenstein-like enough. So little bit of work to this, but there's a lot of decisions because I absolutely love this painting. I love the mark making. I love the story behind it. I love like that there is just so much crap in it, but really it's about the Burger King who is Frankenstein. So super, super fun. So if that wasn't enough, I was dying. I was absolutely dying. I wonder if I could play a video for you guys. I don't know if you can hear it or if I can do it through I almost feel like I might have to make a video and then show it at some point to all of you, because I made these videos about the discovery. So before I found this, as I was walking to the Midway, I came across a dinosaur putt-putt. Kid you not. Dinosaurs right in front of the Ferris wheel. So it had all my favorite things. There were cars, there were dinosaurs, there was a Ferris wheel. And I will show you the painting that I think this painting needs a lot of work, because it is a great example of not self-editing. And it was probably because I was out of control with excitement. I lost my little mind. I was so excited about all the favorite things that I painted them all, and they shouldn't have all been in there. Okay. So this is Dinosaur Adventure Golf is what it is. And of course you've got the giant T-Rex I've got the Ferris wheel. I've got the giant volcano behind it and the pterodactyl on a stick. I mean, come on. This is about as exciting as it could possibly get. So I think this guy's going to get some work done to him, and we're going to do some elimination of things where you don't really notice or see the great big volcano. Anything confusing, I'm going to try to bring him out more and kind of have a hint. I really think it should have just been, and cropping could be another answer for this. I really think it should have just been the T-Rex and the Ferris wheel, but it wasn't. It was all of it. I just stuck everything in there because I loved it so very much. So we've got some editing. The other thing that I could do is work this as a like bounce concept, almost like it's something from a sketchbook or a sketch, and then repaint and rework sections of it. There were certain things. I clipped this, so I did make a little bit of decision change. I made changes while I was painting. I moved the pterosaur, whatever he is, on a stick over a little bit closer to that 1/3 mark. Now it's probably closer to here if I were to truly do a third, but it would be competing with him. So I had to have him, I wanted him lined up right here. So compositionally, I thought this was great. I could wipe this whole thing out and I think it would be better, or leave the sign, but nobody really knows what this is because I didn't paint enough information on it. So it's got a lot of work that it needs, but the spirit was there and it sure was fun to paint. Oh, and they roar. So the whole time that you're watching this, the dinosaurs roar the whole time. And oh no, you do not get into. Did you guys see her? We just had Kit and Kim come by. Okay, so that was that one. So that was 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're getting there. So there's that. Okay, so then I went back and I got a little smarter the next day and the same time. This was the first dinosaur I saw, and I really kind of liked the simplicity of this. I only have a few trees. I absolutely love my little sky hole marks in this one. And I left a lot of my drawing and didn't really put a lot of the Ferris wheel in there. I kind of left it almost like a star shape on here. So for now, I really don't know what I want to do with this, if I want to take it any further or just leave it, or rework it as a full painting and leave it as this fun little personal project. But this is definitely not something that, like, I won't enter this in a show anywhere because there's no context. You don't know why I painted this other than I love dinosaurs. Like, you wouldn't even know this was from life and it was a big giant statue. But it sure gave me joy when I painted it. And it was Friday. So it was kind of actually this was Saturday. I think the T-Rex I painted on Friday. So, perfect Friday night dinos kind of concept. Maybe on Friday night dinos someday we'll redo this. So there was that one. Then I also found, because I was walking, I found a secret garden. And this was a lot of fun. Visually, and somebody wanted to buy this one too. I couldn't believe it because it's so confusing. Let me hide this so you don't have that confusing to look at. So I found this whole garden and there was this little pond and the reflections were completely clear in this pond. So you could just, there was the reflection of the building that was up over here, but I wanted it to be about the reflections in the pond. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do, some kids came while I was painting and I grabbed my camera and shot a whole bunch of photos because I'd love to do some pieces similar to this, but probably we'll have to bring it over and have the kids who are looking in the water and looking at themselves, because that was a magical story. And so no. Sorry guys, I've got a kitten who is determined to get in paint that I had left open, so I'm gonna close all the paint. I kicked her off. Come on, Pugs, you want a drink? Let's see if we can bribe her up here and you guys can see her, because she's busy. I knew she would be up in our business today. Here's some water, Pugs. Come on. So that was that little story about this reflection in the painting. The people were so funny. And Go West, I was telling you about this. I can't tell you how many people would walk by and they'd be like, good job, you're doing a really good job. And I kept thinking, like, am I in kindergarten, or is it that bad that they're having to tell me that? Like, what is that about? It's so bizarre. So, you know, the people were really nice, and they were from all over the world. There were so many tourists in Niagara Falls, Canada. So let's see. I'm going to try to save some things from the kitten, and then I will pull. So that was number 8, and I thought it was done. I thought that was it, but I had quite a flight delay, and I was sitting in the airport and looked out the window, and the shadows cast from this little guy. This is a luggage, their little luggage cart, and then see how there's the 2 luggage things right there? Look, I have water. You want some water? And I thought, I'm going to get my paints out and paint that. So I got this far before they pulled the cart away and moved it. But there's so many things that I like, and I think it needs a lot of work. It's just kind of a fun personal painting, but definitely it was really fun and interesting, and there were some really neat things. So I'd like to play with this and make it play with these shadow patterns and the colors and the paint, and finish it up. It was a very good drawing practice session, and I thought it was a fun little painting of something bizarre that we see all the time, but we don't think about it. And the shadow play was fantastic, the way that the sun casts those shadows. So those are the 9 paintings I did on my crazy trip, and I think what we can do, we have about half an hour. So if I were to work on any of them, I'm kind of thinking, do we work on, I think I said that we would work on the falls, because I can do some things with this one and play with it a little bit, and it's still on the tablet. Now, this is blue tape. In case you guys were wondering, this is blue tape, and this is a European 10 by 12 block. And so I wanted to make sure that I didn't make it too big and then have to cut something really important. So I taped an inch off so that it would be 9 by 12. So a little trick for you, if you ever have a weird size or something that, any of your blocks, if you want to resize them, if you have 1-inch tape, you can just add an inch and knock an inch off really quick by taping the edge. And then you've got the size that you want. So on that note, I am just going to grab probably a flat. So I have my brushes over here. And what a decent size flat. This is a good one. I really love this rosemary flat that I bought. And this size too, this long 1/4 inch, just if you guys are looking for brushes with gouache. I do love the Princeton Velvet Touch flats with gouache a lot, but my Rosemary and Co's are right up there with my favorites. So pull this out. The cat wants in the main palette, so we're just going to kind of try to make a dark mix and start with this sky, and I'm going to work a little bit from memory and kind of go from there. Go West, are you still with me? Let's see if you're still with me. So kind of want like a deep blue but turquoisey. So I'm going to add some colors into this. And these were my palettes when I brought them back. I mean, they're this messy. They're just quite the big disaster. And I've got some purple. Let's add some red and make it dark. That is way too purple. So I'm going to come over here and add this. Some green. Some more of this turquoise blue. And like I said, I knew I wanted my night sky darker than I had it. It wasn't right. Now this is kind of getting close to the color that is already there, but maybe it will darken it a little bit. So let's kind of see. Gouache is funny too. It dries darker, it dries lighter. It's just a funny critter. Here she comes. She can't help it. So when I offered her something, she wouldn't come. But now that Mommy's painting, she's going to want all up in my stuff. And I didn't mix. Classic problem. Did I mix enough? No, I did not. And I think this is still going to be streaky. So it's better but not there yet. And there were all these buildings, just great buildings in the background. And I can just build on top of this. So like I can mix this and layer it and then go in and reference things, kind of rebuild it. You know, the cool thing with this painting is it was one that I was like, I could take it or leave it. It wasn't my best work. I don't feel like everyone has to be good. Sometimes it's just nice to have the exercise and the practice to paint them. And so if I screw it up and redo it, and screw it up and redo it, then that's okay. That's part of it. Maybe I can learn something out of it. And I want to see if this streaks or not. I really can't tell how this is gonna play out. But notice that the darker it is, the more like this little building glows now because I knocked that value down. So you can't have light without dark. It's always my go-to favorite saying is that you've got to have dark to have light, or you will never be able to really show it and see it. Okay, so I'm going to go to my photo bank and see what I have. I did not take a lot of, I might have some video of it, but I don't think I have a reference of this scene. Don't ask me. I was painting. I don't know how I didn't get a good scene of it, but I really didn't. See, I've got blurry one with fireworks and their video of fireworks. So I kind of have it down here. And of course, did I show the falls where they're changing the colors? No. There you go. Now maybe you can kind of see. So it's all red right here, but they do change it quite a bit. I'm looking to see what I've got. So they really are, Also, I am terrible at my phone, so now I can't get my phone to turn again or come back or get these off. Nope. Where's the top? There's the top. Okay, there we go. Sorry, everybody. Okay, that gives us a little piece of it. So it kind of gives me a better idea of how very dark some things are, but the camera will also darken it. So you don't want it too much. And do I have this pattern? No, I don't. Okay. I'm looking for more, guys. I don't think I have a good evening reference. Well, that's fascinating. Other than my blurry one with the rainbow. So that kind of gives me a little bit of a blurry reference right there. And you can kind of see how I should pump up the colors. So my yellow went into, I remember this was white and this was like blue and turquoise. It might have gone blue, then turquoise, then green, then back to yellow and orange and red. I have a feeling it did that. I can't believe you guys are just sitting here listening to me babble on. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring more of the turquoise and green, only I'm going to flip it in here from what it is. And just try some washes. So let's try a little wash and make sure I have clean color. And see what we can get. I don't want it to dissolve what I've got going on underneath. Okay, so right there it started to. So I've got to be careful when I put this color on. I'm going to stick it on, let it dry, and then later I can go back to it. Now I need a bright lemon yellow. And my palette is really wiped out. I've got to clean them and pour them, so I don't want too much. I just want a little bit. And I'm going to kind of bring some of that in with the turquoise. Bring a little more of that color into here. and then green. It should be in here. And then over here, I want that bright blue. So we're going to put some bright blue in here. Just a little more than what we had. And then I probably have to let it sit because it's already getting kind of moody. Then I'm going to grab some of this bright red and bring that over in here. Just on the edge. And then some of that with the yellow to transition some of this. So we've got a little more of my rainbow going on. Just a little more clear, I guess. Transition between them. Okay. So it's improving already. It's improving. It's got a long way to go. There are some darker colors. So if I take some of this gray and turquoise and bring this in shadows. Bring some of this in here. It needs some of this in the falls. So like that's already better, I can tell. And then same with like the turquoise and the blue in here, it would need more. Because they come down and you can see these shadow areas in the falls. The water is coming in and down. Let this a little less brown. And then red too, the red. I'm going to add some of this sky color to create shadow colors and bring those in here. A little blue and red. More blue, purples. So I can bring some of that into right there by that big cloud of stuff and dust. You know, I remember it was really turquoisey down below in here in some of this mist. So I'm going to bring some of that in. Turquoisey, there's a color for you. And then we'll go into greens. Because it's kind of going to carry through in that mist down below. And I'm kind of just scrubbing, rolling gently this white. Because it just kind of like rolls in over everything in here. I got a little too much water on my brush, so let's take some of that off. You know, and bring this light white color into even this part of the mist over here. Give it some peachy color. Guys are very quiet. I almost feel like this over here, even though I know it changed white, I think I want it more of a blue, a bright blue. At least this edge right in here. So I'm just gonna switch it. Look at that. How easy is that? A little more believable, I guess. Just grab some of this blue into this area. For the colors. It had some great, like I remember the mist even over in here coming up over these rocks on this edge. So just really softening in that mist and playing with it a little bit. It's kind of nice. Now, like I would never be able to reference any of these buildings or anything. Like check it out. They're all just squiggles in my photo. See if I have anything else that I can really reference. Not really. You can kind of get the idea of these lights, but they looked more yellow and less like the halos than this. I am remembering the top of this building had these great glowy, let's see if I can pull it off. So I kind of need to earth it up. This is closer. Yeah, it's more like that. And then there were like 3 sections kind of glowing in the top. This is how I had that. I don't think I have to do too much. And then I can see on this, there was some kind of a glowy, it was maroon. But it kind of glowed across the top of this right here. And then it kind of glowed a little bit near the base. And that top piece was darker. So I can go in here and make a dark, earthy, shadow color, I guess. Right back here. That might be too dark. That's like too dark. So let's lighten it up by taking that mix that I did for the sky. And we're just going to paint that mix right over that. Knock it down a hair. And that actually helped. And then we're going to bring that color in here and blend it really lightly towards the top of this. Kind of build that building a little tiny bit. Okay. And maybe some of this light stuff. Just randomly soften some things, add a little mystery, soft edges. Because it's not, you don't really see all this stuff. Now I'm going to take some black and red. So I've got black, I've got red. I want a little bit of yellow in there, green it up, but I want it very dark. So just like touching up some areas in here, in these trees. Okay, and then my other big problem area that I do all the time, I'm going to add some blue to it, and the black is being level, first of all, but we also need to make sure that the edge of this is fairly defined, or at least so that I don't have too many weird squiggles going up into the air. So it's better, still not great, but definitely better. I'm not going to take it off yet, as much as I want to peel this just to see. I think I've got some more work to do, just canoodling it and playing a little bit, but that kind of gives you an idea of where it'll go. I like it better than where it started. And that's it. That's our show tonight. Nothing fantastically epic. Hopefully I'll have something really great for next week. I'll be re-energized and we'll kind of go from there. Thanks guys for tuning in. Have a super duper night, and I will catch you all. Friday is Friday Night Dinos. We are doing dinos. So I will see you then. Bye everybody.